Hello YouTube. Here's the subject of the video here I'm going to do is this 2000 GMC Safari sitting here on my left. Of course the port's rusty. Now I know that, don't know exactly how extreme yet. I know you can see if you look down in here, some rust from the top, yeah, right there. So we're going to be taking fenders off, grille off, disassembling the front and getting down to it. And like I say, we're going to sort of tape this and do probably in a couple different videos the process of it there. Alrighty, stay tuned. Thank you. Alrighty, the first thing I did, I'm going to remove the parking light lens. This is the one on the driver's side, but there's just held in with two of these Phillips head screws here, come in from the side. Then I'm going to take and turn the bulbs out and grab the other one. And I'm going to repeat the same thing on the passenger side. Alrighty, next I'm going to take out these little side, just marker lamps here. Bolts down in here. This one's actually, this is cheating, this one's actually cracked. And it is just a reflector, it's no light, no place for a socket, but I'm going to repeat the same thing on the passenger side. Alrighty, next we're going to remove the headlight composite assembly here. Two bolts here, and one hidden back behind where that reflector was. I don't know, try to see if, let me hold the light up. And there you can see it. And we're going to remove those three bolts and the headlights should come out. Alright, and after we have the bolts out, here's the headlamps. Before you pull it away, of course, we're going to take and turn the bulbs out half a turn counterclockwise, and it should lift out of there. Yep, there's one out. Don't touch the bulb with your fingers. The oil and that in your hands will cause them to burn out prematurely. And repeat the same on the other one. Alright, and there is the headlight out on the driver's or left side, and we're going to repeat the same on the passenger side. Alrighty, I thought this was worthy of mention, and I've taken a good many cars apart in my years, but I took the driver's side headlight out, and I made the comment about turning counterclockwise. Well, on this Chevy Astro, you turn counterclockwise. On the right side, passenger side, it don't go anywhere because it takes, this was a sense of humor, a clockwise turn. Just thought I'd mention that if you're actually working on one of these. So, and especially if you would start on the right side, saying, well, he don't know what he's talking about. Well, it is different from the right to the left side. Okay, little thing I had mentioned there earlier about taking these out. Don't worry about that. I was just getting ready to do it, and back in behind is bolts that go in here. I already took it out, and over here. And after you do that, you can see now this whole, and I have to just repeat on the other side. That's a lot, because you still end up taking those, like I say, have the plastic that the piece mounts to outside here stuck to it. So like I say, just a little easier way. And again, I'm shooting to get the core support. I know it's rusty. Just how rusty yet? Well, it remains to be seen, but we're getting there. Alrighty, the next thing I'm going to do is remove this front bumper cover. And like I say, on that, you have these clips here, which, if you've never removed one, you messed around with cars any amount of time, I'm sure you have, but you take and, like I say, get in underneath the center here, and this should pry up. A little tricky to do one-handed. Or, hold on here. Or, as I was saying, instead of the screwdriver, if you get a stubborn one, you have a little pair of pliers, like these little snippers, you can usually get right in behind them, and then just pry up. You don't want to squeeze real hard because you don't want to cut the end off. And then that should, yeah, and there's the how it works there. And just repeat that. Like I say, you have, looks like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 across the top, and down underneath. I put this up on the lift, help a little bit as far as I can go with this vent because I don't have real high ceiling. You have 1, 2, 3 of them, and if I'm looking correctly here, and here I'll show you a little look why I'm doing this. Now you could be working on this because of wreck, but there's some of my, well, rust, and we're not even really into it yet, but that's why I'm working on this one. But then before I forget what I'm saying is up here you got a bolt that goes. Let's see if I can focus in on it. Right, yeah, there it is. And there's one on the other side. And also, my one, because the rust fell off and broke, well, this brace, there's a brace that goes from here up to the core support. Well, the top rusted out, and then it ended up breaking out of the plastic on this side, but the other one is intact. I'll show you have to unhook that if you don't have a situation like I have here. Now, my bottom one, here you can see it broke out, and same deal, it's rusted out of the core support. It's still holding, but just barely. But if you were doing this because of collision damage and it's not rusted out, you'd have to, like I say, remove this bolt here at the bottom and eventually the top, like I say, to take the cover off. It's more like you're looking at a shipwreck. You just laid underneath the Atlantic Ocean for the last 100 years, but I don't think the bumper itself actually has any holes. It's fairly thick. I'm going to clean it up good, and actually here, just take and tap some of this rust loose if it is a hole in it or not. Okay. Yeah, I think that'll actually, I'm definitely going to clean it up good. Sand, wire brush it, paint, grind some perhaps in there, but I think that's all right. But now, as far as the main bumper itself, which looks interesting, is going to take from back behind here. I'm going to try to take the bracket and all. There's a bolt here and one down there. And the other side, I'm going to spray these up good, like I say, and hopefully they'll turn out. And like I say, there's 2 on each side. And you can see the other end. I haven't sprayed them yet. Like I say, that's coming up here shortly. There's a look at the other side. And the ones on the passenger, the driver's side. I was the passenger side. Yes, okay. Alrighty, we'll see how this goes. Okay, I think I got them to break free with this 3/4 inch drive ratchet with a 15mm socket here. I sprayed these first with, like I say, this CRC freeze off. I like this better than WD-40 or PB Blaster. I've been using it for about 2 years now. Nobody's paying me to say this, but it is a great product. But let's take now and just see how lucky I am. Okay, after spraying them and breaking them free, I'm going to try to get them with my Craftsman 19.2 volt impact wrench. Now, I first tried this by itself. It didn't work. Okay, here we go. Well, it tightened up. It started out. Okay, gonna have to get a little more serious here. Alrighty, we got the front bumper off. Like I say, you can see the loose rust and that fell as I was doing so. And there's the other side. Like I say, got it off without too much trouble. Now this one, these nuts are welded to the bumper brackets. This bottom one, when I went to turn on, is snapped loose. I just grabbed it with a wrench and, like I say, used that breaker bar set up and turned it out. That was the only one I didn't get after I started with the impact wrench, was right there, like I say. But Next thing now we're going to take here and just get rid of this piece of plastic, which I think if it wasn't my rust issue, it looks like there would have been one of those clips right there and over here. But as you see, and that's why we're doing this, there's basically one rusty core support there, which that's why we're taking this out. And I like to actually find the core support. I have a 99 Explorer. I know they do make them for those. I don't think they make them for this. The only hope would be a good used one. And as far as this, since those are out, the transmission cooler lines loop out around here. They just pop out of this. See that? And then I think these just slide forward. Hold on here once. Can't seem to tape and do this. Alrighty, now we got that out of our way, like I say. And on that, it basically did after you unhooked. I just wasn't doing good with one hand. They just unhook out of this hook here. And then after you do that, you just slide them. They just slide back in here where it's been around. Okay, what I'm going to do next is a fairly simple step there. I'm going to unplug these horns, since I'm here and it's up in the air nice. And I'm going to take the AC condenser out. The air conditioning's never worked in this. Now, if your air conditioning works, you're going to have it discharged professionally there, like I say, before you do this. But this, trust me, this one's empty. It's never worked in it. I've owned it since 2010, and it's never worked since day one. Alrighty, on that, you got there's a bolt here, one down here. Then over here, sort of the same deal on the driver's side. Then I'm going to get rid of this brace. I can unplug the horns right now. Plug the horns and this. I assume this is the sensor for the thermometer in it. And unhook your lines to it. Again, if yours is not discharged, your air is working, you're going to have it discharged before doing this. Alrighty, there she is, got the AC condenser out. Now one thing you want to do, especially if your air worked and you had a discharge there, I plugged all the lines so moisture don't get in it there, and over here, and on the condenser itself. Like I said, this didn't work, but you still don't need to fight yourself. If I would want to fix it there, like I say, that extra, and right now it's like 99% humidity. It's about 70 degrees outside. It's, like I say, July 8th, so it's quite miserable here. Next step, we're going to go work from the top and get rid of the air cleaner and radiator and such there. Like I say, alright, like I say, thank you so far. Alrighty, a little recap where we're at so far on this Chevy Astro core support removal. Got the headlights, turn signals, parking lights all out. The front bumper cover, the front bumper, the AC condenser. That's, like I say, next I'm going to move on under the hood here, and we're going to take the air cleaner assembly off. It's just basically pretty much cut and dry. Two of these guys. And we want to take and unhook the mass airflow sensor wire right here. And this sensor back here, I think it's idle air control for something there, but not sure on that. And we're going to take, I'm going back here farther, and I'm going to remove this clamp here and take this whole assembly out. Okay. Ready here. Next we're going to remove the coolant overflow tank and the washer fluid bottle, which you have another one of these like on the bumper cover, that down underneath of it there. And then we'll just pry them up. Okay. And then we'll be disconnecting the overflow hose from the overflow tank to the radiator. And once I start lifting it out, have to disconnect the washer fluid tube and the wires to the washer pump. Alrighty, you can actually lift this out with everything connected till you can get to it, and then disconnect your wire for the, this is for the rear windshield wiper, and hose for the fluid, the the washer fluid. Okay. And there's that. And just repeat. Here's your front washer pump and the hose to disconnect. And I have a little fluid in mine. Now when you unhook these, if you're full of washer fluid, it's going to run out. You can plug them quick, or probably if this would have been full, I would have siphoned it out first, but you can see there's not really that much left in this. I was about out when I stopped driving the van to do this repair. Alrighty, with the washer reservoir and the overflow tank there out of the way, I'm going to take and remove the upper fan shroud. But just here to note, I took and marked these washer fluid hoses rear and front. It's not really the end of the world, but if you put the front where the rear is, your front washers will run out of fluid before the rear. And like I say, that's sort of why they put the rear up fodder, so if you're on the ball paying attention when you're not squirting out of the rear, it means you're getting low, but you'll still have some use in the front, but that's up to you. But now we're going to move this shroud, and there is a bolt. It's upper part of the shroud. You have one here, one right back here, and on the other side we have, see if I can focus, one down there and one up in this corner, and back here towards the front of the vehicle there's one, two, and three of them. Okay, that's our next step. We're going to remove those and move on here. Okay, after we get the upper shroud out, I've been holding off on this because it makes it more accessible. Now we can actually get to our drain, which is located right down, let's see, right here. And I've already hooked a piece of hose on it, so it drains out into a bucket down underneath. Actually, I think you can see it better here from the front. And then it runs down. Yeah, honestly, without doing what I'm doing here, when you drain coolant out of these, you just sort of make a mess there, but now it's accessible, so we'll open that and we'll get it to start draining. Sometimes you can get them. There we go. And if I'm hearing right, it's starting to run in the bucket. And so it is. I better move my bucket here. Okay, we'll let that drain a while and we will proceed here. Okay, next we're going to take and remove one of these oil cooler lines so I can get to the upper radiator hose clamp. Now on that, you'll repeat it for the other transmission cooler line and the oil cooler line and the transmission cooler lines. But what I'm going to do is there's a little clip here, is use this, get in behind this, and it should probably go flying, but this should pry right out of there. Okay. Now there we go. If you lift up on it, and that should, although this is fairly corroded, should pull back out. Okay. There we got as I said, it fell, but we'll find it. I don't think it went the whole way to the ground, but then after you remove that, it should come prying back out of there. Alrighty, finally got that oil cooler line removed. This was, usually they slide out with not much effort, but basically, like I say, there's one up here, which is the one I demonstrated on. One down there, which that looks like that was going to be a ton of fun. Like I say, I sprayed that with my lubricant there that I like to use. It finally left to soak a little, so I did get it out, and your two transmission cooler lines over here. So we're going to proceed and do that and undo our blower and upper radiator hose. Now this still has the factory clamps on it, which when I put it back together, I'm not going to be using there. Okay. Alrighty, we did get the radiator out. It didn't go real easy like I figured. Now the top transmission cooler line and the top oil cooler line I got by removing those clips, and they slid right out. Now the bottom transmission cooler line, I couldn't get that to come, and I used a 3/4 inch wrench, and you can just do it like an old, before these quick connects, real quick, alright, just turn it out. Now that one went out with no problem at all, so that solved that problem. But now over here on the lower oil cooler line, it was rusted fast in here, and I had to heat it, hold it with vice grips. I don't think I broke the line. I'll make sure when I put it back together, or maybe I will just get some new oil cooler line. But like I say, and that actually even, yeah, there it's turning, but yeah, it was rusted fast there. Like I say, I heated it very carefully with my little just propane torch here. Now I have the real McCoy, but with the too much wires around and that plastic core radiator, but that was very cautious, and that is how I finally got it. And there is our radiator. Alrighty, I'm gonna have to get the front fenders off of this, but first thing, because the hood actually, I don't know if you can see it through there or not, actually the hinges bolt to the front fenders, and to access that we're going to have to remove the windshield wipers, arms and all, and these torque screws. There's one there, down there, probably one under this wiper, yep, one down there once I get the wiper arm off, and they are 15 torques. And on these wiper removals, see if I can set the camera down here a second, should take and carefully just pry up here on this. Okay, set the camera down. This will slide out real easy once you pull up on the wiper, and then the wiper actually, it locks into place, and then that should, without a lot of effort, yeah, come off. And don't forget your washer hose if you're working on one of these, and that disconnects right there. It's pieced together. Okay, and there is that. And then just repeat for the other one. Alright, after I got the torques all removed on here, this will just lift right out, and I'm going to let the hood down until I undo the hood bolts there. That way it's not going to be flying back into the windshield. It's not a real big hood, shouldn't be real difficult to maneuver anyhow. And over here, alrighty, hood's off. That worked out really well. It's nut and bolt arrangement that holds it, but I removed them, like I say, with the hood latched yet. And then after I removed those, I opened the hood up to the safety latch, and then just carefully came and, like I say, lifted the hood up and moved it off over there to the side. And it's not real heavy. Again, it's not a real big hood, but that worked out good. Now I'm going to take and work on starting to take the fenders off. I'm going to remove bolt here, and then these two up here, one down here, and same thing on the other side. That's a good step of taking these off, and again, same places. And pine needles are wonderful, these trees, and they love our cars. And down there, it's actually GMC, it's an SLE, but get rid of this plastic, which comes the whole way down and back along the rocker panel until right in the middle of the van. Now what's involved in taking that off, I've already taken out. You have two of these again. There's a 7mm screw there, and then on around in the inside you have Right here, another 7mm screw. And then from down underneath, there's a bolt here that holds this bracket there you take out. Let's see if I can get the light on it. Right there. Now, yeah, there's got good. And back along the van. Now, I worked on this a couple years ago, the rocker panels, and it needs it again. The actual factory clips on this, I think, are one like that. But I replaced them with other push-in clips. But after you remove these, if it's not been tampered with like this one has, when I took this off, the clips broke. I used this to hold it from the bottom. Like I said, this was about 4 years ago I did this, which I get to do it again. But at the top edge, I used this double-sided tape, which you can see it's prying away. It's did its time there. Now this time around, I'm going to fix these rocker panels, and I think all this plastic stuff's coming off and staying off. That's basically a rust catcher in my 2 cents where we live. Alrighty, I did get that rocker panel molding off one of these sides. Now after you have that off, there's a bolt here yet that holds the fender. And there's going to be, now I have to take this off, there's a little piece of trim here that's held in with these 2 screws. Now you can access it with the door just with the regular screwdriver, but got my little dependable ratcheting wrench and like I say, my Phillips head bit, and we're just going to turn those out and repeat for the other side. Alrighty, there, I took that off, and there is your other fender bolt there. That was easy enough, just those 2 screws. And again, like I say, that one from down below. Yeah, there, oh yeah, right there it is. And like I say, take those out, and our fender should be off of there. Already taken the cable sits in this one clamp here. And then after you do that, you can just lay this up out of the way. Should be no problem. And then we have wire loom here. See if I can get back in here. Yeah, there's one back here. This is on the passenger side. Down there, which I think mine is just sort of going to come, it's rusted away. And all on undoing these. Now, like I say, I think that's ready to just pull out with the metal and all. Oops, there went the lights. Okay. Now, if we take here, and if the light don't fall again, maybe I can show you if you haven't ever done this before. You can just get in behind this, just a real gentle pry, and they open. And voila. But just do that on all of them. You got a ground wire here to unbolt. And then it comes across the core supports, the front here. Okay. Now mine, I'm pretty sure there would have been, this was stuck into the metal, before it rusted away. You would have to pry those up, but mine sort of, well, those 2 rusted out. And then there we are going up the driver's side. Goes back through this maze, and then we have another, this is for the battery, another ground wire here, right there. And then some more wires back in here. I'm going to include some still shots at the end of this video, like I say, in case you need reference. And probably wasn't necessary. I marked the upper hole here in the core supports where the headlights come through, and I made a little tag that said headlight. And the bottom, I marked turn and park, and I did the same thing on the other side. Next step, we're going to actually remove the bolts that hold the core support there, I mean the subframe, the core support to the subframe, and they come up in from underneath. Yeah, there you can see one, and then there's of course one on the driver's side. Now, if you're like me, you're doing this because of rust, which is probably not going to turn out easy, but I did spray them up good. Well, through the rust hole from the top there. Got them soaked in, and we'll see here if we can get them to turn out. Alrighty, we got the front subframe mount bolts out. It didn't go exactly as easy as I would have liked it. I figured that. But this should have actually held in while you turned it up from the bottom. Well, I got about turn out and it just started turning around. You can see here I held it with a pair of vice grips from up above. You can get in if you're working on a rusty one. Get in, I had a hole rusted there and I just went in through there and gripped this sits in here. And just grip the top of it with the vice grips. Now, let me see if I can show you. Get this turned back off. Okay, a little bit, like I say, I just took and, like I say, with just enough room, I reached in and grabbed it with vice grips through that hole and it sits back about in there. Now, if you fix one of these collision repair, then you probably wouldn't even run into this because, well, the bolt wouldn't be rusty. But if you do, I suppose, if you had one, you could take and just cut a hole out with like a Dremel or something enough to get in there, and then you could just weld it back shut. But like I say, that's just one little issue there I run into. Well, we succeeded at getting the bolts out. If you're still following along and get caught up on this, now we're going to drill spot welds. I marked the ones here on the left driver's side. There's 3 here up on top I circled. Then you have, let's get focused here, down the edge of it here. And one down there, I believe. Now on drilling these, use your cutting oil, but first you want to take, okay, let me find the drill. Alrighty, we have the drill. You want to take and drill an 1/8 inch hole in the center of one. Okay, just center as good as you can. Okay, you got through there, and then you want to take your spot weld cutter and go, but you don't want to go the whole way through with this, just the outer area. It's just like a little hole saw. I'm going to say a little more. Okay, I think I went through. Okay, I'm going to do some more and then I'm going to show you how to carefully start separating it there. We just got done drilling those spot welds. Now we'll see if I got them drilled through enough, if I missed any. Now I'm going to take them carefully. I use this little pry bar and just take them. Okay, that seems loose there. Okay, and we'll work in behind here. That still needs a little bit in there. Hey, there it's all loose down through here. Just keep working it. That's loose, you can see. Hey, let me grab the drill and work on this one a little bit right here. Just these top 3 here didn't quite go. Alrighty, we got this down the side here. Now, it's still pretty fastened in this core support over here, and I've looked here, right here, starting about halfway down, it's spot welded to another brace that goes back in behind here. I don't know if we can focus me out. Right there. Right there you can see it. So what we're going to do is take your spot weld there, cutter, and drill in from this side. Oh, and there is also one spot weld that was forgot. Alrighty, little change of plans here. My brainy idea of drilling in from this side wasn't going to work because there wasn't enough clearance. So I drilled farther from the outside in, and we'll see if that's going to work. Alrighty, we finally got this separated where it was stuck in there. Just had to drill in farther from the outside. I hate doing that, and I did. I broke the spot weld cutter. Now on that, these are 2-sided. I didn't break the pin. Now that if you break, you're out of luck, but I took here, and let's see here, once you can see. Yeah, right there I broke a tooth out of it. So I turned it around. It turns off of this. And like I say, it gave me another shot. I do have another spot weld bit. But like I say, that loosened it up, as you can see. Now I'm going to just take and repeat over here, which I marked over here. The biggest thing I'm doing these spot welds is patience, patience, and patience. And yeah, there's your two there. The ones circled down the side. And again, on the other side, there was two that they strictly did from this inside edge. I had to drill the 1/8 inch hole from the outside. Just look carefully, but on this one, maybe they didn't do one. Yeah, this one has one right here that don't go the whole way out through. And there should be, yep, one right up here, same deal. Alrighty, we'll get these done and get the right side here loosened up like we have the left, and we're getting downhill pretty good. There she's off. It's not a pretty sight. Yeah, you can see the rust there on it. I'd like to find another one. They don't make them for these that I could find. The hopes to find a good used one, or, and I keep looking at this, it would be a chore or somehow repair this mess. The only thing left to do, because it was so rusty, there is a little part, and I'm going to pull the tires and wheels, there is a little part of the core support that actually comes up in with, like I say, spot welder from up in there. Same with on the other side. Pull the tires off, I'll show you that, and that, like I say, it's off for all practical purposes. A mess, yes it is. Alrighty. I think I'm going to cheat here a little bit on this side, because I looked where this was spot welded to, needs a piece of metal put in anyhow. So I'm going to take one angle grinder with the cutting wheel and just cut it out here in between as good as I can there. Like I said, I'm going to end up cutting back fodder. I want to sort of let it intact for now till I make the piece, but that'll get rid of the remains of the core support there, and a lot quicker in the drilling. Alrighty, and then on the passenger side I drilled the spot welds. This I'm all right on that on this side, and that concludes the core radiator support removal. This is, like I say, a 2000 GMC Safari, but Astro same, and honestly, even I put one in a Ford Explorer last year. As far as drilling the spot welds and that, it's all the same principle. At least on the Explorer, you can buy them. They're, I think it's around $80 I paid for it. Like I say, I'm going to do some looking if I can find a used one, or if there is aftermarket made on this, but I do not believe there is. I have not been able to, under a quick search, find it. And thank you for watching, and please hit that subscribe button. Thank you.